Hey everyone! Welcome back to the November challenge. So, before we jump into the episode, I need to be real with you for a second. I ran into some technical issues this week, and honestly, I think I bit off a little more than I could chew with this whole 2 episodes a week schedule. I thought having the entire story already written meant production would be straightforward, but turns out there are always surprises. Work happens, life happens, you know how it is, I'm sure. So I had a choice to make. Upload on time as promised, with an episode that's a bit more raw, not quite finished to my liking, or skip today and apologize. I had 2 voices playing in my head arguing about it. One was like, "You're just starting out. You can totally skip a day. It's not like you have a huge following yet, or any. No one will notice." And the other voice was like, "You promised yourself and you promised them, even if it's just one person listening, and they're going to show up expecting an episode. Why would they trust you to keep showing up if you don't?" So, as you can see, I decided to upload the episode. Not finished to my liking, but on time. I hope you think I made the right call, but I'm open to hearing if you disagree. I'm just starting out, so there are going to be bumps in the road, I'm sure of it. I just have to do what I can and learn to be better as I go. All right, enough about my behind-the-scenes chaos. Let's get to what you actually came here for.
Episode 7. Wait, what?
The November challenge.
Monday morning arrived, and Ethan woke up before his alarm went off, which never happened. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling for a moment, his heart already racing even though it was only 6:30 in the morning. Today was the day he'd been preparing for all weekend, the day Maya had invited him to sit with her at lunch. He got up and went straight to his closet, pulling out the blue hoodie Marcus had said looked good on him. He paired it with his better jeans, the ones without the frayed hole near the pocket. In the bathroom, he actually tried with his hair for once, using some of his dad's gel to make it look intentionally messy instead of accidentally messy. The result was better than usual. Not perfect, but definitely an improvement. At breakfast, his mom noticed. "You look nice today. Something special happening?" "Just Monday," Ethan said quickly, shoving cereal into his mouth to avoid further questioning. The last thing he needed was to explain to his mother that he was having lunch with the girl he'd been crushing on for 2 years and also maybe accidentally exposed his feelings to the entire school via a leaked love letter and an extremely unfortunate photo. The walk to school felt different than usual. The November air was crisp and clean, the kind of perfect autumn morning that felt full of possibility. Ethan kept replaying Maya's note in his mind. "I loved your letter. I'm glad it was you. Sit with me at lunch on Monday." She'd said all of that. She wanted him there. This was really happening. When he reached Jefferson High, the usual morning chaos was in full swing. Students clustered by lockers, conversations echoing off the walls, the faint smell of cafeteria breakfast mixing with teenage body spray and stress. Ethan made his way to his locker and worked his combination with hands that were surprisingly steady considering how fast his heart was beating. The morning classes dragged by with that particular kind of slowness that only happens when you're anxiously waiting for something. Biology felt like it lasted 3 hours. English was an eternity. By the time third period rolled around, Ethan was practically vibrating with nervous energy. Marcus texted him during the break between classes.
"Dude, are you actually doing this?"
He typed back, "Yeah."
"Respect."
"Thanks. Freaking out a little."
"You'll be fine. Just be yourself. The version of yourself that's funny and not the version that trips over air."
So helpful.
"That's what I'm here for. Good luck, man."
When the lunch bell finally rang, Ethan took a deep breath and headed toward the cafeteria. This was it. No backing out now. He grabbed a tray and went through the lunch line, barely registering what food he was putting on it. His mind was too busy running through the conversation topics he'd prepared, the questions he wanted to ask, the way he'd greet her when he sat down. Then he walked into the main cafeteria area and spotted Maya's table near the windows, and his brain stuttered to a confused halt. Maya was sitting with Jessica and Emma, her 2 best friends. all three of them laughing about something, their lunch trays spread out in front of them, looking like they'd been settled there for a while. Wait. Ethan stood frozen in the middle of the cafeteria, his tray in his hands, trying to process what he was seeing. Maya had invited him to sit with her at lunch. That's what the note said. Sit with me at lunch on Monday. But she was sitting with her friends, like it was a group thing. Like he was supposed to join all of them, not just her. Had he misread the note? He pulled it out of his pocket with one hand, carefully balancing his tray with the other, and scanned the words again. Sit with me at lunch on Monday. Nothing about it being just the two of them. Nothing explicitly saying it was a date. But the tone of it, the way she'd said she loved his letter and was glad it was him, that had sounded like more than just a casual group lunch invitation. Ethan shoved the note back in his pocket. Okay, this was fine. This was still fine. So it wasn't going to be a one-on-one conversation. So her friends were going to be there. That was actually probably better, right? Less pressure, less chance of awkward silences. He could do this. He mentally crossed out half the conversation topics he'd prepared, the ones that were too personal or romantic for a group setting, and focused on the ones that would work with an audience. He could do this. He'd spent all weekend preparing. Maya had invited him. Everything was going to be fine. Across the cafeteria, near the vending machines, Zach Morrison leaned against the wall, with Tyler and Brad flanking him on either side. They'd spotted Ethan the moment he walked in, and they'd been watching his every move since. There he is, Tyler said, grinning, looking all confident and ready for his big moment. Zach nodded, watching Ethan navigate through the cafeteria. Honestly, he'd expected Ethan to chicken out. After that photo went viral, after running from the cafeteria on Friday, Zach had figured Ethan would be too mortified to show his face anywhere near Maya, fake note or not. But here he was, walking with purpose, actually going through with it. That was unexpected and slightly concerning. This lunch needed to go well. Zach held his breath, waiting to see how Maya would react. At the table by the windows, Maya was in the middle of telling Jessica and Emma about the art project she'd been working on, when she noticed movement in her peripheral vision, someone walking toward their table with purpose. She glanced up and felt her stomach do a small, uncomfortable flip. Ethan was walking directly toward them, carrying a lunch tray, his expression set with unmistakable confidence. Not the awkward, hunched-over posture she'd seen from him before. Not the nervous energy of someone who wasn't sure if they were welcome. He was walking toward them like he knew exactly where he was going and why. Maya felt Jessica kick her under the table. She glanced at her friend and saw Jessica's wide eyes darting between her and Ethan with an expression that clearly said, "What is happening right now?" Maya had no idea what was happening right now. Ethan reached their table. He didn't pause. He didn't ask if he could join them. He just set his tray down in the empty spot across from Maya, pulled out the chair, and sat down with a smile that could only be described as genuinely happy. "Hey," he said, looking at Maya with that same confident smile. Maya stared at him. Jessica stared at him. Emma stared at him. Nobody said anything for a solid 3 seconds. Maya finally managed. "Hey, how's it going?" Ethan asked, like this was the most normal thing in the world, like he sat at their table every day, like he hadn't just invited himself to join them without any preamble or explanation. "Good," Maya said, and it came out like a question because she genuinely didn't know what else to say. "How's yours?" "Really good," Ethan said, and there was something in his tone, something warm, that made Maya's confusion deepen. "Been looking forward to this all weekend, actually." Maya's brain stuttered. "Looking forward to what?" "To lunch?" she asked carefully. "Yeah,
Ethan said, holding her gaze for just a beat longer than normal before looking away, like they shared something. Mondays are way better than people give them credit for. Maya glanced at Jessica, who looked just as confused as Maya felt. Emma was frozen with her fork halfway to her mouth, clearly trying to figure out what social protocol applied to this situation. "I guess," Maya said slowly. What was happening? Why was he talking about Mondays like they had some special significance? Ethan seemed to catch himself, his smile adjusting to something more casual. "Anyway, what were you guys talking about?" "Maya's art project," Emma said, finding her voice first. "She's working on this thing with different materials." "Oh yeah?" Ethan looked at Maya with genuine interest. "What kind of project?" "Just mixed media stuff," Maya said, still trying to process the weird Monday comment. "Layering different textures." "That sounds cool. Like collage type thing?" "Kind of, yeah, but also painting and some three-dimensional elements." "Nice. I did a project like that in middle school, but it was a disaster. Everything just looked like I'd glued garbage to a canvas." Emma laughed. "That's literally what mixed media is sometimes." "Yeah, but when you do it, it's called art. When I do it, it's called a bottle cap glued to homework."
Despite her confusion, Maya found herself smiling. He was funny, not trying too hard funny, but naturally witty in a way that fit their conversation. When did Ethan Chin become funny? The table fell into a brief silence, and Maya noticed movement across the cafeteria. Ethan noticed and followed her gaze. And here were Marcus, sitting at their usual table, staring in their direction. When he caught Ethan's eye, he gave an enthusiastic double thumbs up that was so exaggerated it made several people at his table turn to look. Ethan's face flushed slightly, and he quickly looked away. That's Marcus. He's enthusiastic. Emma glanced over at Marcus, who was now doing some kind of celebratory gesture. Ethan took a bite of his sandwich, clearly trying to ignore his friend's antics. "Your friend is not subtle," Jessica laughed. "Yeah, subtlety isn't really in his vocabulary. One time in 8th grade, he tried to set me up with a girl by literally pushing me into her in the hallway. She spilled her entire lunch. It was not romantic." "Oh, so Halloween wasn't your first collision incident." "So, one girl spills her lunch, one Zach wearing his drink. Am I the only one seeing a pattern here?" Emma said jokingly. Maya tilted her head, a smile playing at her lips. "Yes, I see it too. Whenever Ethan likes someone, something gets spilled." Uh-oh, Jessica grabbed her juice and moved it to the far end of the table with exaggerated caution. Emma followed suit with her soda, sliding it away from Ethan. "Yeah, I'm not taking any chances with this shirt. It's new." Maya glanced down at her sweater, then carefully picked up her iced tea and set it on the windowsill behind her. Ethan watched this whole production, trying not to laugh. "Don't worry," he said deadpan. "I changed my MO to letters since then. Your clothes are completely safe with me." All three girls burst out laughing, and Ethan felt the tension dissolve completely. They were all in on the joke together, and somehow that made the whole letter situation feel less mortifying and more like something they could actually laugh about. The ice was broken. "For what it's worth," Ethan added, looking at Maya with a small smile, "I like your outfit today too. Just saying." Maya's teasing expression softened into something more genuine. "Thanks," she said, and there was a warmth in her voice that made Ethan's heart do that weird flip thing again. The conversation continued, and despite the weirdness of how it started, Maya found herself relaxing into it. Ethan was easy to talk to when he wasn't being awkward. He asked follow-up questions, made jokes that actually landed, and seemed genuinely interested in what everyone was saying. But every so often, he'd say something that Maya's confusion spiked back up. "This is really nice," he said at one point, with a tone that suggested it meant more than just a casual lunch. "I'm really glad this worked out." Worked out? What worked out? Maya just nodded because she had no idea what else to do. Later, when the conversation turned to weekend plans, Ethan said, "Yeah, I didn't do much. Just kind of thought about stuff. You know,
And he looked at Maya when he said it, like she was supposed to know exactly what stuff he was thinking about. There was something weighted in the way he said it, and Maya felt like she was supposed to understand some deeper meaning, but she didn't. She was just more confused. Ethan just smiled at her, and she returned the favor as an instinct. Despite everything being strange and confusing, Maya found herself laughing. There was something endearing about Ethan's relationship with Marcus, the way he was embarrassed but also clearly cared about his dorky friend. It was genuine, in a way that a lot of people at Jefferson High weren't. When the bell rang, Ethan stood up and grabbed his tray. "Thanks for lunch," he said, looking at the whole group, but his eyes lingering on Maya just a beat longer. "This was really great." "Yeah," Maya said, still processing everything. "It was." Ethan smiled, waved goodbye, and walked away. The moment he was out of earshot, Maya, Jessica, and Emma all turned to look at each other. Jessica leaned forward and said in a low, intense voice, "What the hell just happened?" "I have absolutely no idea," Maya said honestly. "He just sat down. He didn't ask. He just sat down like he was supposed to be here. And he kept saying things that didn't make sense, like he'd been looking forward to this all weekend." "That's weird," Jessica said. "Yeah. But also," Emma said slowly, "he was actually kind of cute, right? Like he wasn't creepy or anything." Maya nodded slowly. That was exactly it. Despite all the confusion and the weird references and the way he just appeared at their table, she'd actually enjoyed having lunch with him. He'd made her laugh, he'd fit into our conversation naturally, and his friend Marcus staring at them the entire time had been kind of hilarious. "I don't mind him sitting with us again, actually. I mean, it wasn't terrible." "High praise," Jessica said with a grin. "Don't make it weird. Too late, already weird." Maya rolled her eyes and grabbed her bag, heading toward her next class.
In the bathroom, Marcus was practically bouncing off the walls when Ethan walked in.
Dude, you actually did it! You sat with Maya and her friends, and you look so cool about it.
Marcus grabbed Ethan's shoulders.
Tell me everything, every single detail. What did she say? What did you say? Did she mention the letter? Did you mention the letter? Was it awkward? It didn't look awkward from where I was sitting, which was way too far away, by the way. I couldn't hear anything.
"It was good, not gonna lie," Ethan said, and he could feel the grin spreading across his face despite trying to play it cool. "It was really good, actually."
I need more than that. Give me details. Did she seem happy you were there?
Ethan thought about it. She'd laughed at his jokes. She'd engaged with what he was saying. Her friends had been cool about it. "Yeah, I think she was," Ethan said. "That's a win, right?"
That's a huge win. Do you know how many embarrassing scenarios I imagined? So many scenarios, man. Wow, so many.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
I'm just being realistic. But you did it. You actually did it.
Marcus was grinning so wide his glasses were sliding down his nose.
So, now what?
Good question, Ethan thought to himself, thinking what could possibly be the next dare. It worked, but it was hard work. It was not easy.
You should strike while the iron is hot.
We'll see.
This is so exciting.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Too late. Already ahead. I'm planning your homecoming king.
Marcus?
And I'll be your dorky best friend who gives the toast at your wedding.
You're exhausting.
You love me.
Unfortunately, yeah. They left the bathroom together, Marcus still chattering excitedly about every detail he'd observed from across the cafeteria, including what he called power dynamics and social hierarchies, like he was narrating a nature documentary. He only half listened, his mind still on lunch, on how Maya had laughed at his jokes, on how natural it had felt once he got past the initial nervousness, on the fact that she hadn't seemed upset or uncomfortable, and the diary, the November challenge. He'd almost thrown it away. After that photo went viral, after everyone saw the letter, he'd been ready to quit, to go back to being invisible Ethan who never took risks and never got hurt. But look what happened when he didn't quit, when he followed through, when he did what the diary told him to do. He just had lunch with Maya Rodriguez, actually talked to her, made her laugh, sat at her table like he belonged there. A week ago, that would have been impossible. The diary had changed that. Every time he listened to himself, to his fears, to his logic, to the voice that said, "This is too risky," or "You'll just embarrass yourself," he stayed invisible. But every time he did what the dares suggested, even when it seemed crazy, something good happened. Diary knew better than he did. The November challenge saw something in him that he couldn't see in himself. He needed to trust it, even when everything in him said no, even when it seemed impossible or terrifying or destined to fail. Especially then. Back at his locker after Marcus finally headed to his own class, Ethan pulled out the dark blue notebook. His hands were steadier than they'd been in days as he opened it. He'd completed Challenge 2. The love letter was done. Time to see what came next. Whatever Challenge 3 was, he'd do it. No matter what.
Okay, so that entire lunch was just, it was beautiful chaos. Ethan thinking Maya invited him, Maya having absolutely no idea what he's talking about half the time, him making these vague references about looking forward to this all weekend, and her going, to what? Lunch? But despite the complete miscommunication, they actually had a good time. She found him funny. He fit in. And Marcus? Marcus sitting across the cafeteria just staring at them the entire time. The boy has zero chill, and I love him for it. Here's the twist, though. Zach actually wanted this to go well. He needs Ethan to believe the diary is working, so he'll keep doing the dares. The real dares comes later. Have you ever been in a conversation where you realized halfway through that you and the other person were talking about completely different things, but it was too awkward to stop, so you just committed to the confusion? Share your stories in the comments if you have a story to share. New episodes every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you back here on Friday.